The Bay of Bengal is located in the northeast region of the Indian Ocean and is bounded by Bangladesh to the north, Myanmar and the Andaman and Nicobar Islands of India to the east, and India and Sri Lanka to the west. Some of the major seaports in the Bay of Bengal include Chennai, Kolkata and Visakhapatnam in India, and the port of Chittagong in Bangladesh, making the region of the bay a crucial economic hub. With an area of 2.1 million square kilometres, the Bay of Bengal is the largest bay in the world, which is at the forefront of Asia's experience of climate change. Over the years, the significance of the Bay of Bengal has been on the rise, largely owing to the rapid growth of the coastal nations and the major powers involved in the bay. Throughout the medieval, early modern and modern periods of world history, from the indigenous city-states as well as empires, later to the British Empire, the Bay of Bengal had been a singular civilization united by a rice culture and common coastline that kept bringing trade and migrants along its shores. Historically, the Bay of Bengal has played a significant role of a connector where trade, commerce and culture were intertwined for centuries. However, in the early 20th century, the British Empire used the Bay of Bengal for trade and other related activities, causing a significant increase in shipping between British India and British Burma. Yangon, the Burmese capital, was fascinatingly turned into one of the busiest ports in the world for migrant arrivals alongside the likes of New York, with majority of the flow from India towards Burma, now known as Myanmar. Strong ties between Burma and India have developed as a direct consequence of the migration, which followed a downward curve in the years following the partition of India in 1947 and the Burmese independence in 1948, which was under Japanese occupation since World War II. The Bay of Bengal is rapidly becoming an area of key economic and strategic competition in the Indo-Pacific. A crucial geopolitical development was the creation of a regional body, the Bay of Bengal Initiative, for multi-sectoral technical and economic cooperation between Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Myanmar, Nepal, Sri Lanka and Thailand, which seeks to promote regional cooperation and engagement in the area, particularly between the two major geopolitical blocs of the region, the Association of the Southeast Asian Nations and the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. However, the Bengal Initiative's focus is solely economic, with their main objective being supporting free trade, hence it does little to provide any support in terms of maritime security issues that have particularly grown in recent years with respect to Chinese and Indian interests. China's economic and security interests over the past few decades have resulted in greater Chinese presence in the Indian Ocean. China has been successful in developing strong economic relations with major Bay of Bengal countries such as Bangladesh and Myanmar, primarily through infrastructure development projects that include pipelines, roads, railways, port development and power plant construction. Key strategists from India expressed concerns over the rising Chinese influence in the outposts of the Indian Ocean, which they fear could enable China to turn them into military bases encircling India. Although it is argued that China's interests are more economic in terms of ease of connecting to the other parts of the world on their west, it has not stopped India from taking precautionary steps by making rapid developments in modernizing their naval capabilities, as well as developing multilateral and bilateral naval ties with key players of the Bay of Bengal. China and India are playing a strategic and economic tug-of-war in Myanmar, among other littoral nations along the Bay of Bengal. China has recently assisted in building key ports in Gwadar in Pakistan and Hambantota in Sri Lanka, and according to recent reports, it is funding the development of the Chittagong port of Bangladesh, whilst having reached a multi-billion-dollar agreement to build a major deep seaport in Kiakpu, Myanmar, on the coast of the Bay of Bengal. China already has a significant presence in Myanmar, with the gas pipeline connecting China's Yunnan province with Myanmar's major Rakhine state already in operation, and a parallel oil pipeline that is supposed to soon begin operations. Since the launch of India's Look East policy in the 1990s, it has strengthened its political, economic and strategic ties with Southeast Asian countries and beyond. with more actions being considered in order to have leverage over China. It is safe to say that while India had other priorities such as the inward economic orientation and preoccupation with troubled land borders, mainly in the north and northwest, it was the growing influence of China's maritime influence that prompted India's strategic interests in the Bay of Bengal through its Look East policy. India and China are locked into this strategic competition for naval dominance as well as influence in the Indian Ocean's littoral states, and it can be argued that China might just have the edge due to its closer connections to some of the major coastal nations including Bangladesh and Myanmar. The island nation of Sri Lanka also has strong economic ties with both India and China, with the growing regional and security cooperation with the former. However, the recent takeover of Sri Lanka's Hambantota port by China has had significant impacts, one of which is lessening the country's debts to China, who has made a lot of investments in Sri Lanka over the years. Bangladesh, India and Myanmar have had their fair share of disputes regarding maritime territories. One of the most recent disputes was between Bangladesh and Myanmar as tensions were building when South Korea's Daewoo began natural gas exploration from Myanmar in what Bangladesh claimed was their waters, prompting Bangladesh to submit a continental shelf claim to the United Nations. Largely owing to Myanmar's conflicting claims, the events led up to the mobilization of naval forces along the disputed area, although eventually a conflict was avoided. The disputes were largely settled by the International Tribunal for the Land of the Seas in 2012 and 2014 respectively. Myanmar is regarded as a key player in the strategic equation along the northern region of the Bay of Bengal that is fiercely contested by China and India. Myanmar has seen growing economic ties with India since World War II, whilst China has also been developing ties through various means primarily comprising infrastructure support. Myanmar signed its first bilateral trade deal with India in 1970 and has been gradually increasing in volume since. According to some of the latest figures available, Indian exports to Myanmar total $1.1 billion in the financial year of 2016 and 2017, while imports were worth $1 billion, making it the fifth largest trade partner with Myanmar, despite trade said to remain below potential. On the other hand, Bangladesh and Myanmar established diplomatic ties in 1972, which resulted in progressing bilateral relations in the subsequent years. However, in the mid-70s, as President Thein Sein transformed Myanmar's military government into a quasi-civilian government, the bilateral relations never realised their full potential. The end of their military rule in 2011 brought about a new glimmer of hope. However, the recent Rohingya crisis has hindered any progress as Bangladesh are hosting 1 million refugees and have constantly failed in their repatriation due to the Bangladeshi government failing to have reached an agreement with the Myanmar government led by Aung San Suu Kyi. China are the largest trade partners to both Bangladesh and Myanmar and is also the biggest supplier of conventional arms to both the countries. Bangladesh had recently purchased 2 submarines from China to bolster its naval forces, causing tensions in India, with Indian analysts claiming it greatly enhances the mistrust between Delhi and Dhaka. Whilst most of the issues were regarding the coastal nations and China, major actors such as Japan alongside China have significant interest in the Bay of Bengal as they access it through the Malacca Strait for the purpose of trade in goods and energy. One of the most significant reasons for China's growing presence is to find reliable oil supplies and secure, unencumbered sea lanes of communications. India, on the other hand, has been working towards a Bay of Bengal community, envisaging greater security cooperation with the coastal nations. It is obvious that other actors play a significant role, however the Bay of Bengal does not have significance for India's own best interests, as well as data from 2013, which reveals that 95% of India's foreign trade by volume and 75% by value were conducted by sea. The economic growth also led to India's expansion of its navy, as it claims is for the safety of the ocean's sea lines of communications, regarding it a critical move to support and protect for themselves and for the global community. There is little doubt about the significance of the Bay of Bengal to the Asia's rising powers. However, there are some challenges, especially for its low-lying littorals. Currently, the bay is being reshaped by population growth, climate change, overexploitation of fisheries, degradation of critical habitats, pollution and deteriorating water quality. And it is getting increasingly clear that multilateral cooperation is vital for the littorals. What's especially important is that they keep aside their political differences to work together while maintaining healthy competition. Currently, there is already an initiative known as the Bay of Bengal Large Marine Ecosystem Project, designed to improve the lives of the coastal populations through improved regional management of the Bay of Bengal environment and its fisheries. And the countries that are involved in this include Bangladesh, India, Indonesia, Malaysia, the Maldives, Myanmar, Sri Lanka and Thailand. The geopolitics surrounding the Bay of Bengal is probably one of the most complex issues in the continent, if not the world, with the region comprising a diverse range of social, economic and political factors. However, there is no doubt that the key actors involved with the Bay of Bengal all have a crucial role to play in the progress of the region and for themselves in relation to prospects for regional strategic security, economic cooperation and the transformation of the developing nations. That's all for today guys, thanks for watching another KJ vid. We would like to especially thank our contributor Ishtiaq Khan, who conducted the research for this video in collaboration with KJ Vids. Please don't forget to check out the links in the description which have various purposes. Fundmypage.com is where we collect donations to help keep us independent. Fundmyvideo.com is where we can make sponsorship deals with any brands interested. Patreon is where you can get KJ Vids extras, and we also have a website kjvids.co.uk where you can search for all of our work. We also have a link to our Amazon influencer shop where we have categorized a list of books to learn more about the various topics that we discuss on this channel. Finally, from time to time we get approached by various companies with promotional offers who will give you a discount through us. Keep an eye out for the links in our description for any discounts and coupons. Thanks for watching again and see you next time.